A mother's world shattered the day her 2-year-old daughter vanished without a trace. It happened in a heartbeat. Just a few minutes left alone to play near the cornfield on their quiet family farm. When Maggie returned, Fiona was gone. No scream, no sound, just gone. For years, the Landry family lived with the ache of not knowing. Every lead led nowhere. Every search ended in heartbreak. The small town whispered theories, but no answers ever came. And through it all, Maggie carried the crushing weight of guilt, haunted by the moment she turned her back. But then, 10 years later, everything changed. By sheer coincidence, Maggie wandered into a neighbor's pig barn. It was supposed to be an ordinary day, but tucked away in the shadows, she found something she never expected. A small clue. One that would unravel everything and lead her to a truth more shocking than anything she had imagined. Before we dive into the chilling discovery, let us know where you're watching from. And if stories like this grip you, don't forget to subscribe. The midday sun beat down on the wide Nebraska farmland, casting long, sharp shadows across the weathered barn and the endless rows of corn stretching toward the horizon. Maggie Landry, now 50, wiped the sweat from her brow as she trudged back to the farmhouse. Time had carved deep lines into her face, each one a mark of the pain and perseverance she'd carried for a decade. Inside the mudroom, she began her familiar routine, kicking off boots caked in dry soil and dust. The cool air inside offered brief relief from the relentless heat. She bent to place her boots on the lowest shelf, a space she always kept clear. But then, she froze. Tucked in the corner, barely visible beneath the shadows, was a pair of tiny cowboy boots. Her heart stopped. Her breath caught. They weren't just any boots. They were Fiona's. Trembling, Maggie reached out. Her fingertips brushed the worn leather, and with that single touch, memories surged back, sharp and unbearable. She saw her daughter as if time had folded. 2 years old, bursting with life, fiery red curls bouncing with each step. Fiona had adored those boots. She'd worn them everywhere, would have slept in them if Maggie had allowed it. For one suspended moment, it was as if Fiona stood there again, laughing, beaming. Then reality slammed back in. Those boots had no reason to be here. And Maggie's heart whispered the question her mind had buried for years. What if Fiona had never truly left the farm? Do you think we'll ever find her, Hank? Is she really out there somewhere? Maggie's voice was barely above a whisper, the weight of a decade's sorrow behind every word. Hank reached across the kitchen table and took her hand in his. His grip was strong, steady, a quiet reassurance, even as his own eyes shimmered with unshed tears. We'll find her, Maggie. She's out there, and we're not stopping. Not ever. Silence settled between them. Neither touched their food. Grief had long since stolen their appetite. After a moment, Hank stood and began clearing the plates. Maybe we should cut our break short, he said softly. Still plenty of work to do. Might help to keep busy. Maggie gave a slow nod, rising to her feet. You're right. What do you have in mind? I need to clean out the barn, Hank said, glancing toward the window. Could use an extra pair of hands. Maggie shook her head. Wish I could. I've got to deliver hay to the neighboring farms. They've been waiting all morning. Hank nodded in understanding. Together, they moved toward the door, leaning into the rhythm of farm work to quiet the ache that never truly left them. As Maggie stepped into the blazing afternoon sun, she cast one last look back at the house. In the attic, a small pair of cowboy boots sat quietly on a shelf, faded leather, worn soles, and a memory frozen in time. A silent reminder of hope that refused to die. The old pickup rumbled down the dusty back road, its bed stacked with bales of hay. Maggie gripped the steering wheel tightly, her knuckles white. She'd already made several deliveries, each one a welcome distraction from the whirlwind of emotion stirred up by the discovery of Fiona's boots. Now, as she approached the final stop, the Becker farm, her stomach knotted. She silently prayed Clay Becker wouldn't be the one to greet her. Maybe a farmhand, anyone else. But no such luck. As the truck crested the last hill, the Becker farmhouse came into view. And there he was. Clay. Standing in the yard, arms crossed, a permanent scowl carved into his face. Maggie took a deep breath and pulled up to the barn. She killed the engine and stepped out. Hello, Clay, she said, her tone polite but distant. He grunted in return. Hello. They worked in silence, unloading and stacking the hay. The air between them was thick with years of bad blood, hostility left unspoken but always present. Every movement felt heavy, every glance avoided. When they finished, Maggie wiped her brow. "I'll send the invoice over later," she said. Clay gave a quick nod and turned away without a word. Watching him go, Maggie felt a mix of sadness and irritation. Clay still needed their hay, and despite the history, she and Hank kept delivering it. A small part of her still hoped the rift between their families might someday heal. But today didn't feel like that day. She turned to head back to the truck, but something darted past her in a blur of pink. Startled squeals followed. A pig, no bigger than a dog, tore across the yard, squealing with glee. Instinct took over. Maggie sprinted after it, years of farm life kicking in. The chase twisted around the barn, the little pig zigzagging through the dirt like it was playing a game. Finally, winded and flushed, she caught up and scooped it into her arms. It squirmed, then settled. Still holding the pig, Maggie looked around. "Clay?" she called. "Anyone?" No answer. The farm was eerily quiet. That wasn't like Clay. He was meticulous, careful, especially with livestock. Something felt off. Still carrying the pig, Maggie made her way toward the pig barn. She'd only ever seen the place from a distance, but she had a general idea of the layout. The closer she got, the stronger the stench, ripe and unmistakable. She pushed the heavy barn door open with her shoulder. It groaned on its hinges. Inside, the air was thick and humid. Dozens of pigs shuffled and snorted in their pens. Maggie walked slowly down the central aisle, scanning for an empty enclosure to return the runaway. That's when she saw it. Something small. Pink, partially buried in the dirt near one of the pens. Maggie knelt, still clutching the pig, and brushed the dirt away. A child's headband. Hello Kitty, worn but unmistakable. Her breath caught. What was that doing here? Clay didn't have children. He never had. A chill ran down Maggie's spine. She stood, her mind racing, and that's when the voice snapped through the barn like a whip. "What the hell are you doing here?" Maggie spun around. Clay stood in the doorway, face flushed, eyes wild with fury. One of your pigs got out," she stammered. "I was just trying to bring it back." "I don't care," he barked, stepping forward. "Get out, now, or I'm calling the police." Maggie froze. His rage was unlike anything she'd ever seen in him. His fists were clenched, his whole body taut, trembling. She slowly placed the pig in a nearby pen and backed toward the exit. Clay didn't move. He just stared, burning with something darker than anger. As she passed him in the doorway, the headband's image burned in her mind. Something was very, very wrong. And deep in her gut, Maggie knew. She had just scratched the surface of something terrifying.